to have Jamie Bryden on our show. How are you today, Jamie?
Oh, going well, going very well. Thanks for having me on.
So just a little bit of quick history. Jamie and I first met when you actually invited me onto your podcast. So you've got your podcast called Stories, the True and the Fictional, which I'm keen to find out a little bit more about, and we can explain that to our listeners very soon. So that's how we first met. You reached out to me. We had a bit of a chat about my writing and my books, and
Yep.
I thought, well, let's return the favor. And you've got a really cool book out that we want to talk about today. It's called Letters from the Emu War. But before we start start our conversation today, I know this is a podcast. We're coming in over audio, but for those of you, we'll do a little bit of a video clip. I'm actually wearing a special prop today. Now, this is quite a special hat. I don't know what we call it. My mum calls them pommy caps. I
It's
don't
a
know
flat cap.
what's it called. A flat cap.
A flat cap, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I was kind of like a beret cap or something. So
Nah,
I
flat cap.
noticed, Jamie, you've got a bit of a collection of these sort of caps as well.
Yes, I do. I used to, like, I've always worn hats. And yeah, like when I was a teenager, it was always the backwards cap, the baseball cap sort of thing. And then I think basically around the time that I started growing a beard, I was just like, these hats kind of matched with the beard sort of thing. And
Yeah,
you know,
I think there's something kind of mature about it. Like I got it.
Well, it makes you look old.
well, see, that's the problem, because I don't know how I'd look now because I haven't shaved it, but like when I was mid-20s, I got hit on by teenagers all the time because I looked ridiculously young, and it was just getting too awkward. So I said, how do I make myself look older? Pop out the beard, and it worked.
So did you ever go through that period where you wear those caps with the really flat visors and you tuck your ears under the
No,
cap? You know, you never went for that look.
no.
No?
I have to say that I did a bit of Google stalking when I heard we were interviewing you, and I can't find one photograph of you not wearing a hat. So do you
Wow.
actually have any hair?
No. No. Well, I sweat profusely from the head. So I was just like, this hair's annoying me, and I just when I was 21, I shaved it all off, clean shaved it.
Cool.
And then the sun's still hot, so you gotta cover up your head,
So I'm starting to this hat's starting to warm to me. It's actually a bit of a story to it. I've been sort of saying to my wife for a long time, I want to get one of these kind of pommy caps. And she said, why do you want to wear something like that? And I said, it'll make me look, if I go to author events, it'll make me look like I know what I'm talking about, look like I'm, this professional author.
Look like a farmer.
Yeah. Next, I'll get a suede jacket with patches on my elbows. Anyway, so she said, don't be a dickhead. Why would you, my wife will tell me the truth. Why would you want to buy that bloody cap? Anyway, so we walked past a chemist and I saw one on display. Happened to be this very cap. It was on display out the front of the shop, and I said, "Oh, look, it's one of those pommy caps." She said, "Don't be bloody stupid. Come on." And we kept walking. So on Christmas morning, she was very miffed when there was this kind of mystery present was addressed to me from Santa, nice and beautifully wrapped, and I opened it, and it was this cap. And she said, "Dickhead, you wrapped yourself your own cap for Christmas."
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, she is a hairdresser, so I mean, caps and hats probably not good for her business.
Yeah. No. So anyway, I'm going to make a point of wearing my pommy cap, or whatever we call it, the beret cap, flat cap, because it's just a bit of style. Okay, so let's hook in. Jamie, so you're dialing in from Hawkesbury down in Western Sydney. Harry and I are both coming from nice, humid Brisbane. The weather's been a bit sultry and humid lately. Now, look, I want to just really quickly give you a chance to give yourself a bit of a plug in terms of your podcast. So the podcast, Stories, the True and the Fictional. So just give us a quick background. Where did now you have joined up with? I know I've met Ryan. Shout out to Ryan Hay, he's had some health issues and challenges lately. So big shout out to Ryan. He's a fantastic bloke. Now, so Ryan's a good mate of yours, and you guys have come together and started your own podcast. Tell us about the background and how it started.
Well, it's been quite the journey. When I started it, I wanted to have a name that was kind of broad, because me and my friends are very tangenty, and we may decide to go off on weird themes and all that stuff. So Stories, the True and the Fictional, kind of lent to like a variety of possibilities and all that. So it started as like a random trivia show where we were going through articles on the internet. Like early episode, we did really funny prison breaks, about some dude's wife when it came in for a conjugal visit and snuck in all her clothes, and he tried to walk out in heels and like so ridiculously.
Didn't they do a movie
But
on that one?
they may have.
Yeah,
They
I've
may have.
definitely seen a movie on that, but it was a South American prison where conjugal rights and visits were all available.
Yeah, well, that probably was the one. You know, another one where all these prisoners smeared peanut butter over a door and said, "Oh, can you just let us out here?" Like, so the sign, and so it was like a new officer, and just let these 8 dudes out of the like. There's so many funny ones, but yeah, that's how we started, and then I got into writing, and then I thought, you know, let's get into interviews, and I started interviewing lots of, you know, just random authors. Like that's how I found you, Jack. I just went through the hashtag Aussie author or hashtag author, and I just went through them and went, oh, okay, no, they look interesting. They look like we'll get a good conversation, and started interviewing them. And then I bought one of my longest, well, he calls him my longest serving friends, because we've been friends for like since we were in diapers. Chris, he came on, and we started just doing variety show, kind of like just talking nonsense for 2 hours and then seeing what we can come up with and stuff like that. But so we've got like kind of 3 shows where we talk one where we talk nonsense, one where we interview authors and filmmakers, and one where we talk comic books. But it's kind of like a big free for all.
Yeah.
So how come you didn't find me in your search for an author to talk to, huh?
You are not random enough. I was very random.
Yeah. Well,
you're gonna have to pencil me in for future one, all right?
No, definitely. I get emails from people all the time saying, "Oh, can we come on?" And then it's harder now because I'm about to go back to work after a 2-week holiday. I work like 6 days a week, so it's kind of hard to, because we get a lot of overseas people, so you got to figure out that time frame. Difference. Our sponsor, Rebecca Castle, shout out to her. She's from the UK, so we've had her on a few times, and it's really
hard hold that against her.
Because no, she's lovely, but it's just the big. We're just grateful that she says she's up till 12 p.m. 1 in the morning, so we can kind of swing it around to get her on. And but yes, no, we are always on the lookout for guests to come on. We're having a little bit of a break at the moment because Ryan's in hospital at the moment, so when he's out, we're going to get back into that, more of the interviews and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I will definitely have you on sometime, Harry. It sounds like
I'm up for it.
Sounds like you got a good sense of humor. That's what we need.
Rather warped, but anyway.
Just providing he gets through the screening process. So check it out, everyone. The podcast is called Stories, the True and the Fictional. It's a good laugh, so be sure to check it out. It's a great little podcast. So, Jamie, what came first, the podcasting or the writing?
Podcasting. I think, like, yeah, no, I have not been writing very long in the grand scheme of things. Like I did funny stories when I was in primary school because you had to, creative writing and all that stuff. But I really didn't take it seriously or even think about writing a book until probably like 5 years ago. And before that, I was into screenplay writing, stuff like that. So funny enough, the Letters from the Emu War was first a screenplay.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well,
I have heard that there's at least a couple of people doing a movie on it at the moment.
Yes.
Including John Cleese.
Yes. I don't know what's happened to that one.
Whether they're going to do it now that there's another one being published.
No. Well, there's a short film that I saw, some short film, and it had Luke McGregor in it, and it just looked bad. Honestly, it just looked horrible. No offense to the guy.
Is that the one that was a bit of a spoof, bit of a comedy kind of take on it? It's on. Yes. There's one on YouTube.
Well, there's an older one which looked that was pretty funny, but there's like someone they're doing for a short film festival or something, and it had some more notable people in it, and it just looks stupid. Like no disrespect, but
for the people out there listening, for our 3 or 4 fans that are listening to this this episode, and they're wondering what are we talking about. So your book is called Letters from the Emu War. So can you provide a factual, just a quick history lesson as to what are you talking about? I mean, I'll start with a quick tag. In 1932, the Australian Army declared war on 20,000 emus and lost. So tell us the historical basis to the story first.
Well, so it was almost 100 years ago, so 1932. Similar conditions to today, so like cost of living was insane. The Great Depression was on, and there was a whole lot of droughts, and it was emu mating season. So 20,000 emus got together because the only reason they get together ever Like you never see more than 2 emus together. But the only time they come together is when there's food, when they're looking for food. So 20,000 of them migrated out west to, I'd say, a few hours from Perth, inland from Perth, and found a whole lot of crops. And what do you do when you're hungry? You go to town on all these crops and started decimating them. And then, so the farmers, basically came to the government for help, said, we need to do something about this. This is, crazy how much damage is happening. And so they officially declared war on the emus. And yeah, they had like 2 attempts. Some hilarious stuff happening, like the guns jamming on them, putting the guns on trucks and driving around, but the bouncing up and down, couldn't get a straight shot, that sort of thing.
And I guess this is off the back of World War One, where there's a lot of ex-military, and a lot of the military equipment was kind of idle, and they had all these ex-servicemen from World War One were kind of at their disposal, and they were keen to earn a few extra bucks, and that's why was that part of the reason why they brought in a lot of these serving or past serving military.
Well, I think primarily because the farmers, most of them were vets from World War One that were given the land to to grow crops and all that stuff, and they were actually encouraged to increase their crops because of the Great Depression and all that, and that just made things worse. But yeah, they just had to deal with the problem, because it's like, to give you an idea, I think the average emu eats up to 2 pounds of food a day, and they drink up to 18 liters of water a day. So you got to multiply that by 20,000, and that's a lot of,
I've heard they also are not particularly well. They're not very good at eating through crops, because they'll destroy a lot of them to get to what they want.
Yes, that's that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's very accurate. But yeah, look, they killed, like, I think in the end they killed 986 emus out of 20,000, and it was 10 rounds per bird averaging, because you essentially had to shoot them in the head to kill them.
So what was the outcome? I mean, you're sort of pitching a story that the kind of the emus won the war, the battles. Well, what was the outcome?
We retreated. We gave up because there's nothing we could do about it. But then, and this is what I like to, I got a good chuckle out of this, because they put a bounty system. Basically said to the people, the civilians, you kill us an emu, you get $20 or something like that. And within 6 months, I think it was like 50,000 emus were killed in 6 months. So the civilians could do what the army couldn't.
Yeah.
I guess they were either using shotguns or rifles, which would probably be a lot more efficient than a machine gun.
I just can't understand. Like, you got a machine gun, and like, just think about, like, if you've shotgun, if you open fire on pigeons, what do the pigeons do? Like this, it's the same concept. If you open fire on emus, they're going to scatter. They're not going to stand in a line for you to.
Yeah. Unlike the troops in the First World War.
Yes. Yeah.
They all stood there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So it's a pretty interesting part of Australian history, and there's been some factual books, non-fiction books about this story as a piece of Australian history. Now, your take on it was a little bit different. The way you've retold the story. So you're retelling the story from the eyes of the emus.
Yes.
So where did that concept come from?
Well, I think I have a firm belief, or what do you call it? Like, what's the saying? History is written by those who win. So I had that was one idea, because, like, look, they won. Shouldn't their story be told?
Good point.
And
like
two, I'm very usually contrarian.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do things differently. I have a good friend, Chris Park, who I mentioned, and he's my soundboard. I bounce ideas off him, and then he's like, says this and says that. Like, oh, it's been done. And he's like, everything's been done. But I just had to do it differently.
Yeah.
And I'm a natural comedian. I love making people laugh, and it was just like the response I get purely from the book cover is just like, people can't walk past it and they go, this is so funny.
Yeah, and it's a brilliant book cover, and I'll make a point once we get this uploaded, we'll share that as well. I think your book cover has also gone through some evolution as well too.
Yes.
There was a previous version to the version now looks classic. It's got that real wartime kind of feel to it. It's absolutely brilliant. There's a picture of an emu kind of colonel with in a military uniform. Have you got a copy that again, I keep forgetting we're an audio podcast.
Oh, look, everybody on the podcast, you can now not see a picture of the cover.
We'll have to clip this. We'll clip this on video.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's actually General Monash. It's his uniform.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So because I got the artwork done on a site called Fiverr. When I was starting out, it was me. I didn't even know that there was this thing called book editing. That's how clueless I was about everything. But so the art I got commissioned on Fiverr. There's a lot of people on there that try to rip you off, but there's some people there that are just absolute gems and great people to work with. But some of them could barely speak English. So it's basically I had to do. I want this. I showed him a picture of an emu. I show him a picture of General Monash, and I go, I want that emu inside that uniform. And and they laugh. I think they laughed more than me while they were doing it. So.
Yeah, well, it's a brilliant cover. So again, we recommend people to check it out. So there's the traditional historical fiction and non-fiction. Yours is a bit of a crossover.
Yes.
How would you describe the genre of this? You've got these fictional emu characters telling a true story. So what genre does it fit into, do you think?
I think it would be historical fiction, but I think the closest I can get to it, I don't know if you've heard of an author called Seth Grahame-Smith. He wrote a few books that got turned into movies, which you may know, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, if you've heard of that
I've
movie.
heard of it.
Yeah, and he did Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
I've heard of that one, definitely.
Yeah. So he's basically taken, I think it would lean more to Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is basically they've taken Abraham Lincoln's complete history and he's put fictional elements into it to make it very convincing that that Abraham Lincoln was fighting vampires and he had to get silverware for bullets and it's very, very clever. And I think I may have had that somewhere in the back of my head while I was doing this. So it is a little difficult to really get the right genre, but I think historical fiction would be the best way to describe it.